What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you for a Friday, late morning, early afternoon episode of New York State of Sports. Happy to be back with you once again after an epic Thursday in the New York State City sports scene. Of course, the NFL draft took place. Giants and Jets, from all accounts, made good picks in round one. We're not going to know for a while, but both seem to address some major needs. And the Jets make a smart move to add some more draft picks. We'll talk about that. The Knicks. Joel Embiid with 50 points for Philly as they get back in the series, but should he have even been in the game? How do the Knicks potentially handle maybe not having Mitchell Robinson for a potential Game 4 on Sunday? Speaking of Game 4s, the Islanders are going to go into Game 4 on the brink of elimination. They make a goalie switch. It doesn't really matter. Carolina's frankly better. And of course, Game 3 later tonight, with the Rangers trying to go up 3-0 against the Washington Capitals. It's all coming up right here next on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all those sports. We'll see you in a little bit. I want to remind you can follow me on X or on Twitter at Rickinator555. You can follow the show on X at NY State Sports IE. If you have a comment you want to give throughout the postseason, you can email me, rickjq@gmail.com. I'm very happy to hear from you as we continue to do these post-game shows a little bit later today based off of Thursday, but got a chance to really dive into everything to get you guys the best insight possible. And of course, this show, as well as the other shows on the network, brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. It's all brisket jerky. It's gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, low in sugar, and high in protein. Planet Jerky, the jerky that is on a whole other planet. You can follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky or go on their website, planetjerky.net. So the NFL draft last night in Detroit. We're going to lead with that to start off with. And some surprises in the league, I'd have to say. Michael Penix Jr. going 8 to the Falcons was a real shock, even though you could look at Kirk Cousins only having 2 years of guaranteed money. Falcons want to find their successor, no problem there. I thought the Broncos taking Bo Nix at 12 was kind of a surprise because as good as Bo Nix was at Auburn, I still see Auburn and Bo Nix whenever I watch him at Oregon. So I think you have to take the good with the bad there. But you start with the Giants, and of course it was the intrigue of the whole Drake May aspect quickly went away. It was reported throughout the rest of Thursday the Patriots did not find an offer that they couldn't refuse. They need a franchise quarterback. Even though they're a couple years away from truly being contenders, they need a foundation to start with. So the Giants were never going to have the draft capital to get up there. So Drake May goes to the Patriots at 3 after Jaden Daniels went to the Commanders at 2. So the Giants are sitting there. Marvin Harrison Jr. goes to the Cardinals at 4. No surprise. Joe Alt, the offensive tackle, goes to the Chargers at 5. You would have thought maybe a team would have traded up to get a quarterback at 5. That did not happen, which led to the Giants. And it led to the decision that was talked about yesterday, or the scenario that we mentioned here. Do you go the quarterback, J.J. McCarthy? Or do you get a guy that can change your team immediately in Malik Nabers? And to me, the answer is clearly Malik Nabers. Get a guy who was LSU's all-time leader in catches, receiving yards. He's fast, good route runner. This guy's going to make plays. And when you look at this Giant offense, they need a guy that's going to make plays. Especially when you look at Daniel Jones, who, from all accounts, sounds like he's going to be back to start the season. You could use Nabers kind of in the screen game. He's not big. He's 6 feet tall, so he's not going to give you a lot of height. But at the same time, he is going to be a player that makes an impact in other ways for this team. And right now, he's got to be their number one wide receiver when you think about it. You have a guy now that take the top off of defenses and change the game that way. That was their time for the Giants to get a quarterback? Sure. I mean, they pick at 47 today. Pat Leonard reported that maybe Spencer Rattler could be in store. That'd be a pretty interesting pick. But at least the Giants, even though I'm sure they really want a quarterback, they didn't panic and just grab one. You have to love the quarterback when you take him that high in the draft. And it's clear they didn't love J.J. McCarthy. And that's okay. I think they love Drake May. I think that was obvious. But the Giants chose to go a different direction. Brian Daboll, the Giants coach, said on Thursday night Neighbors is a heck of a player, fun guy to evaluate. He's got quickness, explosive, a good run after the catch. He's got a great mindset in terms of the competitor that he is, the competitive style he plays with, and he played well in big games. Get him in the program, get him with receivers, and get him into the offense. I'm really looking forward to working with him. There's one thing you look at with Neighbors, again, I think press coverage is going to be a big, interesting thing to look at because can he get off the line? But from all accounts, when you look at what scouts said about Neighbors throughout the process, if Marvin Harrison Jr.'s last name is Marvin Wilson, Neighbors might have gone with the first wide receiver taken in the draft. That's not saying Marvin Harrison isn't great, but it's just stating that, hey, that would have been a possibility. And when you're getting comparisons to Tyreek Hill and all these great wide receivers, I think you've got to go that direction. So the Giants make the right decision there. And then the Jets, so the draft continues. J.C. Latham goes to Tennessee at 7, another tackle off the board. Rome Odunze goes to the Bears at 9, so they now have a really good wide receiving core with Odunze, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore. I would have thought the Jets would have tried to move up to 8 with Atlanta, even though I guess with Atlanta wanting Penix, there was no way they were going to move down. So then the Jets make the move to trade down to 11 with the Minnesota Vikings. And you could wonder, the Vikings, did they panic a little bit? Now, you could argue they made the decision to just secure they're going to get their guy, but unless Denver or Vegas was going to talk with the Jets to move up, I'm not sure you make that move. So the Jets get an extra 4th-round pick, an extra 5th-round pick, and they give up 10 and 203. And when you look at the Jets draft, they don't have a 2nd-round pick today. They have a 3rd-round pick, and now they have 3 4s. So they can move up and down the board if they need to. So it gives Joe Douglas some more flexibility in the offensive line, flexibility in the draft, to get different pieces they need. So they stay at 11, good tackle depth in the draft, and they get Olu Fashanu out of Penn State, who even said last night when he was interviewed that the Jets did a good job hiding their interest in him. But this is a guy that is 6'6", 312 pounds. A lot of people thought was one of the best tackles in this class. And he's a very good pass blocker. What do the Jets need? Very good pass blockers on the offensive line for Aaron Rodgers. So they did the right thing here. You could nitpick if they should have gone with Fuaga from Oregon State, that everybody thought they should have got. And that was reported by Rich Cimini earlier in the day that was, throughout the process, that was Joe Douglas' favorite player. But you could argue Fashanu might have been. It's all smokescreen. I mean, Connor Rogers tweeted last night that the Brock Bowers interest was smokescreen. I fell for that. I thought that the Jets would have gone for a skill position player, and they still might later today. But when you watch Aaron Rodgers and the Pat McAfee show last night talk about how he's a big fan of the pick, and you get Fashanu in the room to learn from experienced offensive tackles. Tyron Smith's there. Morgan Moses is there. The Jets now have depth at tackle. So if somebody gets injured, Tyron Smith could battle injuries. It wouldn't shock me if he had some injuries at some point this year. But now you can plug Fashanu in if you need to. You have Morgan Moses. You have Simpson. You have Tipperman at center. Elijah Vera Tucker at right guard. The Jets now have the depth they need to go into the regular season. They could use some help at the guards and the interior spots, but in terms of tackle, I think they've got what they were looking for this offseason. And I think when you look at the draft as a whole, I mean, Joe Douglas got it right. If the Matt Miller on ESPN compared him to Terran Armstead, who strong veteran in the league, I don't see how you don't make that pick. So while the Jets needed some wide receivers, and I think they could still use some, they found the right kind of player. And this is a deep wide receiver class. There's still plenty of good ones on the board. Sean, who said about the Jets' interest, I think they did a good job of disguising it. It didn't seem to be any more than any other team that showed interest, but after that visit, after the combine for me, the Jets were the obvious place for me. Joe Douglas, the Jets GM, said last night, it's such a unique draft class at the tackle position because we really felt there was a handful of guys that were unbelievable players. With Olu, his production in pass pro, very low pressure rates, playing in one of the top conferences in the country. He's just a really high level, high impact pass protector. I don't think he gets enough credit for his run blocking, just a big giant body with long 6'6", 315, with long arms, and he's a very tough, competitive young man. Run blocking, I think, would definitely be something that, from what I read about Fashanu, he does have to work on. But what's Joe Douglas' strength? Getting players on both the offensive and defensive line, building from the trenches out. We talk about the Giants not panicking. I think the Jets did a good job of not panicking. Because easily, you're thinking about if your job's on the line, which you would think Joe Douglas and Robert Sala's jobs are on the line this year, you might look to get that extra flashy skill position player for Aaron Rodgers. But Fashanu could be a pick that if the Jets don't succeed this year, he still could be their left tackle of the future. So they still went with short and long-term play. While not, I think, balancing the two. And I think that is something to monitor. So the Jets will, again, no pick today. They will pick 72nd in the third round. Giants will pick 47th. Of course, that's the Leonard Williams pick from Seattle. They also have the 70th pick today. So Giants right now with 2 picks. The Jets right now have 1. I would think the Jets are going to find their way to move up the board today and package some of those 4s. Giants, they pick early enough in round 3 where they could make a move. Maybe they trade back up into the second round if a quarterback falls to them. There's not a lot of great quarterbacks left on the board. We can take a look at the best available real quick. But before that, I want to look at the rest of the first round. And I think the other surprises was the Bills trading with the Chiefs while the Chiefs get Xavier Worthy. I don't understand that. You just gave the Chiefs another big skill weapon. Around the division, the Eagles stayed put at 22, even though they wanted to move up, and they got Toledo corner Quinyon Mitchell, one of the best corners in the class. We talked about the Commanders getting Daniels. Dallas traded back to get Tyler Guyton, the tackle from Oklahoma. Meanwhile, in the AFC, we talked about the Bills. They'll pick first today as of right now. Dolphins at 21 took the edge rusher, also from Penn State, Chop Robinson. And we already mentioned the Patriots taking Drake May. When we look around the board, if you want to look at quarterback and what's left on the board, Spencer Rattler is the best one right now. Other than that, it's Michael Pratt of Tulane, Keaton Slovis of BYU. So Rattler, I think, would be, to me, the only day 2 guy on the board, which I think if you have to wonder if the Giants feel they need to move up from 47, if Rattler is their guy, or do they just wait till next year when, yes, the class isn't great, but you do have Shedeur Sanders, Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers. There's a couple guys they can look to. So we'll see what the Giants decide today. Wide receiver, which I think is something the Jets could use. There is some depth there. Keon Coleman of Florida State's a guy I like. Jalen Polk from Washington. Troy Franklin from Oregon. Tez Walker from North Carolina. I know another guy the Jets had a lot of interest in, Malachi Corley, from Western Kentucky. So the Jets do have some options at wide receiver. If you want to look at the guard positions potentially, you got Christian Haynes from Connecticut. Cooper Beebe from Kansas State. The Jets want to kind of go to the interior guard direction. I think the Giants could use some help at tackle. So lots still left on the board, and we'll see what happens day two, which is rounds 2 and 3 today, and then rounds 4 through 7 Saturday. I think we'll briefly go over the draft stuff. We'll kind of go more in depth with that with our live show next week. A lot of our post-game shows We try to focus mainly on the teams in the playoffs. But we didn't get a chance to talk about Zach Wilson yesterday and what I thought that tenure is defined as. And to me, when you look at if the Jets do get another quarterback in this draft, and I could see them getting one later with the likes of like a Jordan Travis out of Florida State, I don't think they ever put Zach Wilson in the best position to succeed. Now, that doesn't mean Zach Wilson wasn't terrible, but when you think back at this draft, and I think back to Penix and Drake May and all these guys that they think should sit a year, maybe Zach Wilson would have been better off sitting his first year in the NFL. Was he truly ready to take over that spotlight and be the leader the team needed when he was struggling his first couple of years? Then the Jet players wanted Mike White to play quarterback and all that stuff. And sometimes New York can eat you up and chew you up and spit you out. And I think they kind of did that here, but Wilson never had a lot of consistency when it comes to coordinators. I don't think they ever put him in the right skill set. He's a guy that likes to freelance and roll around the pocket, and it seemed like they tried to like put him on the leash sort of and contain what his abilities could be. That doesn't excuse us how bad he was, but I think if you asked the Jets, they would have done things differently in terms of putting the right pieces around him and letting him and doing more of what he could do offensively. It just seemed like Wilson was a square peg in a round hole for the Jets. But sometimes that happens. I mean, think about it. You make all these picks, and every team thinks they got it right, but not everybody's going to get it right. Of course, these first-round picks, we're going to hope to seal their NFL futures and sign that next deal. And you could seal the deal with Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations. You're looking for that extra special touch. Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps. Your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. Follow them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps or on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals. So we'll take our break. We'll come back and we'll talk Knicks. Rough night in Philadelphia. Chippy game at that. So what do the Knicks go from here? Now up 2-1, and then we'll also talk Islanders as they face elimination. You're listening to New York State Sports and IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all better sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the '08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle. while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dantarius Locke.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Be sure to check out Fast Break every Sunday night here on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. They're going to recap all that's gone on in the NBA playoffs, which has been, I think, a fun postseason so far. Saw last night the Lakers on the verge now being eliminated down 3-0. Saw Orlando hold off elimination. Well, not elimination, but hold off going down 0-3 to Cleveland with a blowout win last night. Which leads us to the Knicks. Ricky Keeler back with you here on the network. Knicks lose 125-114. Is it a surprise they lost to Philadelphia? No. I think any Knicks fan would say, hey, if we could get a split in Philadelphia, you'd absolutely take it. But it was the way last night's game went that's got to frustrate you. And it frustrates you because of Joel Embiid. Before we rip into Embiid, I want to at least give him some credit. The guy's practically playing on one leg. Adrian Wojnarowski reported last night he's dealing with Bell's palsy, which is, you saw something wrong with his eye during the game. So Embiid's going through a lot right now. But he puts up 50 points, 13-19 shooting, 5 of 7 from 3. Guy couldn't miss in the third quarter as much as the Sixers couldn't miss. They outscored the Knicks in the third, 43-27. They hit 9 threes. And this is a team that, when you look at Philadelphia, they're going to play with a physical grit. They were desperate. They're a team trying to try to play with that sense of urgency, and the Knicks had a match on. I thought for a half that they did. They get up 3 at the break. Jalen Brunson, it seemed, found his shot last night. 39 points, 13 for 27 shooting. He was 3 threes. 3 out of 7 from beyond the arc, 13 assists, so he was sharing the ball. You saw OG Anunoby get involved, 17 points and 7 for 11. So there was good things. Josh Hart, 20 points, 6 boards, 6 assists. Hart, I thought, did more in the first half than the second half, but all around a decent game for him. But it goes off with what Joel Embiid was doing during the game. When in honesty, I think you can tell any NBA fan, if that is a regular season game, Joel Embiid is thrown out. If that is any other player but Joel Embiid, if that's Draymond Green, Embiid is thrown out of the game. So, earlier in the first quarter, he gets called for an offensive foul on Isaiah Hartenstein when it looks like he need him in the groin, which you would think that would be at least a flagrant one. Refs review it. There was 5 reviews in the course of the first half. It's ruled just a plain offensive foul. Then, as the quarter goes on, Mitchell Robinson is going up to put a putback, and Embiid's on the floor, grabs him by the legs. And Embiid, after the game, was talking about how I've been the victim of that before. Mentioned Jonathan Kuminga from the Warriors. Mitchell Robinson, who already was dealing with an ankle issue, ends up aggravating that ankle. Turns out he's got an ankle sprain, missed the second half, left the game in a walking boot. So we're going to have to see if he's available on Sunday. And the refs look at that and they ruled out a flagrant 1. When in honesty, it should have been a flagrant 2. And I don't want to hear about the optics of, if we call that a flagrant 2, it looks bad because the Sixers filed a 2-minute report, were mad at the 2-minute report, and they filed a grievance, and it looks like the NBA is trying to help the Knicks go up 3-0. Why does that matter? For a league that really has a public perception of trying to protect their officials, why does that matter? Why are you officiating a game differently because of optics? If you're making the right call and everybody's watching that call, it didn't decide the game by any means. It would have helped the Knicks because right now they have no answers for Embiid. That has to get called consistently the same way. And that looked like a play that should have got him tossed. The guy was playing reckless. He was playing with endangering the other players. You had also a flagrant 1 called on Kyle Lowry in the first quarter for getting Dante DiVincenzo in the eye. And you could tell that affected DiVincenzo the rest of the way. He didn't really take up many shots and had one of his worst games of the year. Only took 7 shots, 5 points, and didn't make a 3-pointer. This Knicks team got rattled in the third quarter. And it's easy to get rattled. It didn't seem like Philly was missing anything. They got contributions from their bench. Campaign had 11 points, including 3 threes, his first action. Kelly Oubre was 6 of 8 from the floor at 15 points. They needed that in the worst way. And for the first time, Philly's bench outscored the Knicks bench 18-17. But if you take away the foul situation for a second, Tom Thibodeau even said after the game, when they asked about the foul, said which one, the one that wasn't called and one that was called. And he also mentioned that he's going to send his clips to the league about Jalen Brunson, but everyone he's told marginal contact. It never seems to be marginal contact on Embiid. Philly had 33 free throws. The Knicks had 18. Joel Embiid by himself, and we'll dive into that a little bit more here. Knicks had 19 free throws as a team. Joel Embiid had 21 by himself. And that says a lot. Now, you could argue that it changes. Embiid got those calls because he's getting to the bucket. And the problem the Knicks have right now is they don't have anybody to stop him from getting there. When you look at these first 3 games, Isaiah Hartenstein can never stay out of foul trouble. Every time he's defending, he picks up 2 early fouls in the first quarter, takes a seat, comes back in, picks up a 3rd foul, takes a seat, picks up a 4th foul. He doesn't stay on the floor consistently without fouling. He's got to keep his hands up. He can't try to reach because they're going to get those calls. Embiid is just big. The way I look at it is Embiid right now is playing like the bully, and the Knicks aren't taking his lunch money. I'm not saying that you have to hurt him, but I'm saying you have to, if you're going to foul him, then foul him. Like, don't give him those easy 3-point shots. They had a foul that got Embiid 3 free throws when it Hartenstein didn't give him a spot to land. You can't let this guy push you around. If you're going to let him push you around, then you're going to lose the series. Especially with Robinson out. Robinson's been their best defender. If Embiid's going to take the ball, make him post up. Make him uncomfortable. And then when you're on offense, drive at him. He doesn't want to play defense. He got 3 fouls early in the game. You had a shot to really get him out of the game. Take it to the bucket. And when you watch the Knicks, when they about to take those layups, they put a little floater, or they take the shot not in the corner, but a little bit in front of the corner. You want to see them kind of take a different approach slightly. And I liked Brunson at least getting to the rim last night, not settling for too many outside shots. So that was a big deal. So you had Precious Achiuwa get some time because Robinson missed the second half. Hartenstein doing foul trouble. I thought Achiuwa did good. 10 points, made both of his shots, 4 points, a block, +6 or the +/-. Achiuwa needs more minutes. You could argue if you want to rotate bigs out, Jericho Sims is there. You have bigs that could rotate in and out if Tom Thibodeau wants to do that. But you can't really look at the Knicks, and I was watching a lot of the post game last night, and you can't really put your head down. I mean, outside of the 43-point third quarter, the Knicks won the other 3 quarters. So if it takes Philly shooting the lights out of the gym to win a game, and Embiid going for 50, and Maxey didn't have 30, but he had 25, 4 boards, 7 assists, then you're still in good shape. And the Knicks found their shooting offensively, 49% from the floor, 43% from 3, and that was with DiVincenzo having a bad game. So what was important is Jalen Brunson found his shot again. You're starting to see more continuity offensively. Other players getting involved. Hartenstein, when he was on the floor, made his floaters. Anunoby was good. But it's about now what this team does defensively. And how does this team, maybe, if Embiid got 30 instead of 50, you win the game. You have to hold Embiid to 30 points. And it's easier said than done. But if he's going to play like the MVP he is, this series is going 7. And the longer this series goes, the more riskier of Embiid getting healthier. That's the worry you have. To me, Game 4, it's hard to not think the Game 4 winner could win the series, because you look at Philly, if they were to win Game 4, which is Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern on ABC, right now Philly's favored by 4.5. If Philly wins and ties the series, they can go back to New York and say, hey, we were robbed in Game 2. We almost won Game 1. And you hate that Nick Nurse kind of gives that little smirk when talking about the Embiid stuff. But you tell the rivalries there. There's an energy with these two teams now as they wait 2 days to play, and they're going to hear about these comments, and it brings the energy to the court. The Knicks have to match it, but they can't give into it. Can't worry about what the refs are calling. You can't worry about what the outside noise. You can't worry about this. You got to stick to the game, and knowing if you beat them, you're probably winning in 5. If you lose this game, you give Philly a bunch of confidence. They know they can go into that building and at least compete. The Knicks haven't blown them out at the Garden. That's what makes this game so critical. You don't want to lose that momentum you had from Game 2. And again, the Knicks looked a little rattled in the first half, still had the lead, and then the third quarter, as Thibodeau said last night, they were playing on their heels the entire time. And Philly was hitting insane shots. There were shots that you couldn't believe that were going in. They were just found the way into the basket. Now, it was a hostile crowd, but you had a lot of Knicks fans there, so props to you Knicks fans that headed out to Philadelphia, and hope you go out there Sunday afternoon, because they're going to need it. It's going to be more of a hostile, raucous environment. The Knicks have to come ready to play. They have to come composed. And we'll see if they do. Want to remind you, for the last 9+ years, IE Sports Radio has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com, for sports news, the IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each podcast, our community forum, and stop by the shop and check out the merch. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio a direct feed for all that is sports. So the Knicks head to Game 4 up 2 games to 1. The Islanders head into Game 4 trying to avoid a sweep. Hurricanes beating the Islanders out at UBS Arena Thursday night 3-2. Clearly the move to go to Ilya Sorokin did not work. Sorokin allowed 3 goals on 13 shots before getting pulled for Varlamov. You understand why Patrick Watt did it, but we talked about it yesterday before on our live show. Sorokin was 0-2 against Carolina this year. Regardless of what you do against the Hurricanes, they're going to cause a problem. Now, I like that the Islanders were much more aggressive in the first period. They had 15 shots on Frederik Andersen. They didn't score, and they were down 2-0, but after Brett Burns and Dmitry Orlov scored. But they had a plan. And they came out, the more desperate team just couldn't capitalize. Pierre Engvall cut the lead to 2-1 with a goal early in the second, but then 5 minutes later, a goal that should never happen, Sebastian Aho gets the second of the series, make it 3-1. Islanders looked like they had a little bit of life at the end of the second when Brock Nelson got his first of the postseason. But right now, the Hurricanes just have much more than the Islanders. It's clear. Even you look at the Carolina, one of their star players, Svechnikov, said, "We didn't play our way, but we take the win." Carolina didn't even play their A game, and they won. And right now, the Islanders, who did play well in the third period, they outshot Carolina 11-3. but they're not getting the breaks. And sometimes when the puck doesn't bounce your way, it's just not your series. And it does look like it's the Islanders series, clearly. Carolina's just better. And that's what makes tonight for the Rangers so important. You want to go up 3-0. Now, Vince Mercogliano of SNY tweeted at Alex Wenberg, who missed practice due to maintenance yesterday, said he's good to go. We'll see how those lines get switched up. Does Phil Peel get in for the first time? We'll find out. But now the Rangers have to match. Because if Carolina's going to sweep on Saturday, you have to sweep on Sunday. You have to make sure that you are on as close to equal rest with them as possible. So Game 4 for the Islanders Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern. That game is on TBS. Hurricanes are favored as of right now. Obviously, when you're up 3-0, you would be favored. Carolina does have some injuries. Jesper Fast likely out for the remainder of the postseason. Brett Pesce, their defenseman, missed Game 3 last night, so they're trying to adjust with some defensive pairings. I want to say the Islanders are going to find a way to win Game 4, at least get this series to Carolina. Game 5 would be, if necessary, on Tuesday. So if the Islanders were to win, we would have Knicks Game 5 and Islanders Game 5 on Tuesday. So you would get a pair of Game 5s. Rangers, if they go to Game 5, would be Wednesday. So you would have at least 3 teams still in it locally. But it's a long road to go. And look, you got to give the Islanders credit just for getting to this point. As I've mentioned, Patrick Waugh doing a good job in the second half of kind of rallying the troops and fixing what looked like a lost season at the beginning of the year for this team. But they've got a lot to fix. And we could dive into that when we get an Islanders off season and things like that. But they put their best effort. Again, look at outside of that disaster in Game 2, they were tied 1-1 going to the third in Game 1. And last night it was 3-2 going to the third. And the Islanders outshot them in the third period. But couldn't find a way to win. And again, third period, the Islanders just have not been good in that this year. It ends up costing you. So, diving into the rest of the week, Rangers tonight, Islanders tomorrow, Knicks Sunday, Rangers Sunday. We'll keep in the loop of what's going on. I might do something for the Rangers Saturday morning. If not, you will probably get another live show. Not a live show, but a recorded show on Sunday. Because then we can kind of dive into what the Islanders look like after 4 games, the Knicks look like after 4 games, and what the Rangers look like after 4 games, just to get a glimpse of what's going on. If something big happens, though, tonight in the Ranger game, you will get something going in. I like the Rangers tonight. I think that they're playing with a sense of urgency. I think they know they don't want to repeat last year against New Jersey. And the key for the Rangers, like I said yesterday, if Washington gets in the power play, they're in trouble. Washington's got one of the better power plays in the league in the second half. If the Rangers bring their game and don't do anything sloppy, this series will be close to over. I want to remind you that you could follow me on X at Incanator555. You can follow the show on X at NYStateSportsIE. You can email me, rickjakefeeler@gmail.com. I want to hear from you what your thoughts are. Check out the other show with the network. Shout out to Larry B doing the great 3 and Out NFL Draft Special. You can check that out on our YouTube page, where you can also find this show. That was recorded Friday morning, so if you're looking for some round 1 NFL draft wrap-up in addition to what you got here, you can check that out over there. Hopefully we'll bring on some more guests over the course of the week. We'd love to get Davidson hopefully on the show. Some fast break, kind of look back at Knicks Sixers. So again, to wrap the local schedule the next couple days, Rangers Game 3 tonight in Washington. Islanders try to hold off elimination tomorrow afternoon at UBS. And then Sunday, the Knicks at 1 o'clock, the Rangers at 8 o'clock. So got a lot of local fix. Yankees are in Milwaukee. The Mets, home to St. Louis. And the NFL draft zone going on. What a time still here in New York with the Knicks and Rangers up in their playoff series. I'm not worried too much, but again, to the Knicks, don't let the bully take your lunch money. Got to stand up to the bully. And I think they have a shot to do that here in Game 4. We'll find out how resilient this team is, if they can avoid this series going back to the Garden at 2 apiece. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. You'll catch me here next time on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for Sports. Ricky Keeler from New York State Sports, saying, for the rest of your weekend.